finding that battle VIP pass, getting these Pokemon into play.
100%. Unfortunately, not the most ideal starter there with the Dragonite V. I think in this matchup, you definitely want to not show your Pokemon V, because they do give up 2 prizes, and every single prize counts in this specific matchup for sure. And again, that's not the easiest thing to move out of the active as well. With 3 retreat costs, you're going to have to use one of your many switch cards. But let's see what Jesse has here.
Yeah, this is actually a really small detail, but it's cool to see that Jesse is actually playing a different language copy of Battle VIP Pass. So it's actually really cool to see. We don't get a lot of chances to feature international players here at regional events, but this will actually be really interesting to see how this develops, how things go out. Of course, starting that Dragonite, not the Pokemon you want right away, and there's not a lot going in this hand. Really going to rely off this concealed cards, and does find the switch card. This can pivot this Comfey to the active, allow the flower selectings to begin. I think I saw a switch card there too. And what a beautiful card. Another Battle VIP Pass. Can choose the Comfey, but listen, it's an easy choice every day. Get that Battle Pass, get these Pokemon into play, and get rolling.
Exactly. Why choose one Pokemon when you can take 2? Battle VIP Pass, absolutely powerful card. Something you definitely want to see on the first turn of the game. And getting that Cramorant just ready to go there for the once we can start swinging. But I have to wonder here, who won the coin flip, right? In the Lost Box mirror, typically, I think you do want to go second as Lost Box. Going second means you have access to your supporter, which is more likely than not a chorus, and of course, an attack with the Cramorant. And again, this is an exact 16 mirror. This is going to be an absolute prize race indeed. As we're going to see another switch. Oh, that's going to be the Beach Court there. So getting 3 cards at this point into the Lost Zone? No, two cards right now.
So this is the second flower selecting, so 2 cards in the Lost Zone. I actually just got word that Jesse won the coin flip. Decided to elect to go first. It's one of those things where in almost every matchup besides the mirror, going into it blind, you want to go first. It's just this deck wants to start going flower selecting. But speaking of first turn here, yeah, these flower selectings are great, but I have to wonder, Wancho, the bench is full and there's no mana fee. Could that be a big potential key card that's not on Jesse's board right now that could come back to haunt him later?
That is true. We've already seen the power of Radiant Greninja multiple times in today's tournament.
Look at this. Look how many cards in the Lost Zone. 4 cards in the Lost Zone. Turn 1, there was no Chorus play. 5 cards with the Lost Vacuum.
So we could see a Moonlight Shuriken coming from Jesse maybe on their turn. Let's see what Andrew has in store for us. We do see the Radiant Greninja, though, drawing 2 more cards. Do you see a Chorus? That's always the question here.
No, there's 5 Pokemon in this hand. Andrew chose to not play Nest Ball before utilizing that concealed cards. Have to wonder what he was looking for off of those. It's going to be a big flower selecting. What do we see? It is an escape rope. Can throw away this Nest Ball. Does have the other Nest Ball in hand.
Do we have another Comfey as well?
Well, it does have the Nest Ball, so there are none in the prize card, so there is access to grab it. But, I mean, there is nothing else going on in this hand. It's just going to be essentially another flower selecting to try and see potentially a Chorus. I don't think there's any other card besides a Chorus that continues to allow you to keep digging through your deck. And your opponent just got 5 cards in the Lost Zone. That's the most we've seen, not only all day, but I think from a Lost Box deck on stream this entire weekend.
Definitely impressive after Lost Box losing the scoop up net from a rotation. This is something I was not expecting for sure. Let's see. They are going to grab another Comfey here, what looks like.
And this is also Andrew's first deck search, so I think he's going to be a little bit shocked to say there's a certain purple energy card that decided to not show up today. That is that Psychic Energy, and you'll probably see him right away.
Did just write it down?
Write
no
down
Psychic.
That there's 3 Psychic Energy. They're not here. They're not going to be here until Andrew can start to take these prize cards, utilize Cramorant, spit innocently, put some pressure on early. This is your opportunity. You're going second. If you can draw like you want to draw, you're in a good position to start doing it. But it literally, this might just be a flower selecting to stay into the game, because if there's a Chorus back over on Jesse's side, Andrew is not going to be able to keep up.
100%. I think this is going to be one of the more important flower selectings of this tournament.
Yeah, that's also an interesting note. I think the only reason that you don't snap pick Comfey and bench it is potentially your opponent had 5 cards in the Lost Zone. If they do find 2 more cards and can utilize that Radiant Greninja in play, they can take 2 prizes if this Comfey doesn't find anything. But at that point, I feel like if you're not doing anything this turn, you're probably not winning, because your opponent already has Cramorant on their bench, so they'll just knock out your only Comfey in play. So
no, exactly. I think you have to go for this play. You have to go for the Comfey. You just have to pray that one of these 2 cards right now is going to be a Chorus Experiment, as we see the escape rope being played here. Easy decision for both players, just both Comfeys being promoted. Is it going to be the Chorus Experiment?
No, it's Boss's Orders and Sky Seal Stone. I mean, you throw Sky Seal Stone away, but You're really looking for a better card off the Comfy here.
You could use the boss's orders here, maybe gust up the Dragonite.
I think you have to.
That might have to be the... You could go for a Raikou. You could fleet-footed, draw one for the Chorus experiment.
Well, the problem is there's no way to get this Pokemon on the active. That Beach Court that was in play last turn was lost vacuumed away over by Jesse. So
that is
it's just
true.
going to be a boss's orders, bringing this Dragonite into the active spot.
I see a switch card already, though, in Jesse's hand, so things are looking good for Jesse Banda. Let's see what else Andrew has in store for us. He has 2 Cramorants in hand. If he only had 4 cards in the Lost Zone, he has the potential already to chain attackers back to back, as we see Jesse here just using the concealed cards. Let's see what they get.
And Jesse has the potential to actually take 2 prizes this turn with the Radiant Greninja. Already has multiple switching cards. I think is just missing. No, has the Mirage Gate as well. So going to start things off with an Escape Rope. I think Andrew understands his hand is so poor, he's got to sacrifice this Cramorant, put it up, allow it to get knocked out.
That would be absolutely huge here. If Jesse can get the knockout on both the Comphase, not only are you going up in prizes, but you're taking out Andrew's way to get cards in the Lost Zone, to get draws, essentially. That means he would have to depend on something like the Radiant Greninja.
What a big find there. Finds Colress off of that flower selecting. Yeah. He's now at 7 cards and does have 1 more switch card. So if there's another Water Energy, which there is in hand, has the Water Energy, has the Mirage Gate, we're going to be seeing a turn 2 Moonlight Shuriken. Wow. That's a big find here for Jesse.
Absolutely huge turn here. You might have to think Andrew might start considering going into game 2 here, just because this is such a commanding turn. And again, your hand is not looking too good. You have a lot of Pokemon. Fleet-footed is your best option to draw. Yeah.
Sure. But I have to wonder, even if Andrew top deck Colress next turn and started to draw cards, what can you do? This matchup is so close. I mean, you're playing the same 60 cards. Your game plan is essentially the same. Sure, you have Dragonite down on your board, but does it really matter when your opponent has 2 cards in the Lost Zone, no draw power? You know their hand is not having much going on. What can you do? And just to add insult to injury, even if this was the end of the turn, this still would have been plenty for Jesse. But you've got a Colress's experiment on top of that. You can grab more pieces, finds Energy Recycler, has the switch card, and there it is. Moonlight Shuriken targeting down both Comfy. Jesse off to a quick lead to start game off.
I just have to say how absolutely powerful that turn is. They were able to use the Mirage Gate, get 7 cards into Lost Zone before the Colress.
Yeah, and there is a Battle VIP pass. That would have been great the previous turn, but there is, I think, and Andrew understands, I need to win this set to get to day 2. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm not going to let my opponent make all these decisions, draw more cards. Andrew's scooping things up, and wow, shocker to me at least, Jesse showing he's got what it takes, going up 1-0 here in the set.
Yes, against Andrew Hedrick, nonetheless. I'm sure Jesse must be feeling over the moon. He is 1 game away, 1 win away from making it to day 2 here in the Hartford Regional Championship. Again, it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, but again, it all depends on what people draw here for sure. And I have to wonder now, will Andrew decide to go second this time? I mean, will Andrew decide to go second?
And Andrew has chose to go second, game number 2. So saying, hey, even though it didn't go so well for me in game number 1, I understand that in this mirror match. I mean, if you look back on, there was a stream for the special event that happened. If you look back, Andrew played against so many Lost Box mirror matches in that, and he was consistently choosing to go second, and it was paying off for him. He was winning those mirror matches where he was taking the first knockout, keeping up in terms of the Lost Zone race. I think he understands that just taking knockouts in a mirror match where things are going to go back and forth is more important than sort of getting to get those extra few cards in the Lost Zone, assuming, of course, that you can find Colress, which didn't happen in game number 1.
Exactly. Colress is key here to keep up that momentum. Let's see what these players draw. Would love to see the scientist himself. Do we see a Colress? Do we see...
Andrew's hand is looking a lot better this game, and I don't know if I can say the exact same over on Jesse's side, but hey, who knows? It's going to be an interesting 2-game set. Luckily, we've got plenty of time to play this out. Only 10 minutes have passed so far this set. Let's keep our eyes on the prize cards here. Wancho, is there any cards you see here that are sort of lighting your eyes up as things could get bad?
2 Water Energy on Jesse's side of the field, so that leaves him with 2 left in the deck. The Mirage Gate, nothing too much on Andrew's side. I guess the 1 Cramorant, but luckily they do play multiple. So yeah, prize is not too bad as both players actually get the ideal start as well with double, which is comp base.
Oh, that is so tough here for Jesse off this first flower selecting. It's Radiant Greninja and Colress's Experiment. Which one do you grab here?
I think you grab the Greninja because you only have one Greninja, and it's a viable attacker too.
You have to grab it just also because of the threat of Moonlight Shuriken, but that's the exact card you need the second turn of the game. Has the concealed cards for what? A Drapion and a Nest Ball? Doesn't feel like it's what you want to see.
It looks like they have the Forest Seal Stone in hand, so the Drapion can turn into a Chorus if push comes to shove. Flower selecting here, another supporter, another tough choice, in fact.
Yeah, I think you have to keep Clara here. I mean, Beach Court is great at pivoting cards out, but Clara is just so necessary later on in the game when Manaphy's getting targeted down, when Sableye's getting targeted down. 2 flower selectings, that's it.
You can also hope your opponent plays the Beach Court and just use that.
Yeah, once Beach Court's in play, it's pretty much just on either player to remove it, but they're more than happy for the most part to just utilize that pivot. As Andrew was missing this card game 1, but he's finally shown up in the clutches of times. Colress's Experiment. No Battle VIP Pass, though, does have access to a Nest Ball that can grab either Sableye or Greninja. And I think Andrew purposely chose to not play Nest Ball before the Colress in order to try and increase the amount of basic Pokemon in his hand. But it just didn't pay off here. There's basic Pokemon, but not the ones that he was looking for.
And you have to think, that's something you have, that's a sort of a gameplay adjustment you have to do when you're not playing the Battle VIP Pass, right? Typically, you want to use your Nest Balls, increase the odds of you drawing into those Battle VIP Pass. But, you know, if you don't have it, you want to draw into those Pokemon early on, for sure, as we see just a couple of Pokemon Vs hitting the Lost Zone. Not too, very easy decisions, for sure. But again, all we have right now is a lone Comfey. Let's see.
Was there a flower selecting? I think there was a flower selecting as well. Wow, there is. And this is another decision for Andrew here. What do you grab off this Nest Ball? Do you grab Radiant Greninja, see 2 more cards off this concealed cards, or do you go for a second Comfey, or another Comfey, put it into play, and just hope that this flower selecting can just continue to allow you to dig through your deck this turn?
Yeah, that's exactly what you have to go for here. The Greninja looking mighty scary again, once again, but we'll have to see what happens.
It's so risky at this point. If you grab the Comfey, I'm not sure if a Manaphy, I think there's a Cramorant in hand. There's no Manaphy, but it's again just one of those risks. If your opponent has 2 cards in the Lost Zone, Colress plus at least 1 flower selecting in a Lost Vacuum gets you there. 3 Comfey and a Colress gets you there. There's a bunch of different combinations that can get you to that position.
Yeah.
It's not that much to ask for, especially if your opponent has the ability to use their V-Star power on the second turn.
Again, and that's something I want to talk about as well, is that both these players will essentially have access to everything in their hand at all times, right? But both these players aren't playing any sort of hand disruption. You don't play any hand disruption in Lost Box typically. So again, this is just going to be a battle of keeping up the momentum and who can start the hit. And it looks like it might be Andrew, depending on 1 more flower selecting.
Just trying to think about what this flower selecting could even draw into to get more cards.
They do play Battle VIP Pass, so that's something that will net you.
But the problem with Battle VIP Pass is sure you get more Pokemon into play, but at the same time, I think this maybe is why you are going for the Cramorant instead. Okay, this is interesting to think about. Is there a way to get? Was I missing? Was there another Comfey in this hand?
Is there? Does he have a tool potentially, and then maybe? Oh, he has the stadium.
The Lost Vacuum.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to be seeing the Manaphy come down.
Okay.
Does have the Beach Court, so can utilize the Beach Court to retreat out into this Cramorant, play the Lost Vacuum. Has Pokegear for next turn, so can try and rely off that. But I think the main choice is what card do you Lost Zone in this hand. I have to imagine it's Boss's Orders. It could be Psychic Energy, but I think Boss is just the best choice.
Looks like Boss's Orders might have to be it here. That's something you also want in your hand if you're attacking with a Cramorant and your opponent decides to attack with something like a Radiant Greninja. But luckily, you know, there is a Manaphy in play, so I wouldn't be opposed to losing the Boss's Orders. But Mirage Gate would be an interesting choice indeed.
I think this is interesting. I think what Andrew is maybe predicting is if this Pokegear doesn't find anything, Boss's Orders can at least take a second prize next turn if something comes up. And that is going to be the choice. You're usually only playing 1 to 2 Mirage Gate the entire set regardless. So this is okay. So Andrew, getting on the offensive here, taking the first knockout of Game 2, Spit Innocently. And now it's on Jesse to respond and find Colress's Experiment to keep up.
Exactly. Right now, Jesse has 2 cards in the Lost Zone. They did have to send a Chorus Experiment to the Lost Zone the previous turn. I'm trying to see the flower selecting. I see an Energy Recycler.
and Escape Rope here.
Tough choices indeed. I think you might have to take the Escape Rope here, right? Continue drawing, because yes, the Energy Recycler is good later in the game, but you have to keep yourself in it right here, right now.
Well, the problem is, I guess there is a Nest Ball, so that I could potentially grab something. There's the Dragonite, and we're actually just going to see the Dragonite come down into play. We are going to see the Forced Sealstone, and just saying, hey, listen, I'm going to play it in a second. I could keep it private if I want to, but you know I'm probably grabbing Chorus, so I'm just going to show you.
Indeed, indeed. I can't think of anything else you'd grab off a Forest Sealstone in this specific matchup. Maybe Mirage Gate later down the line, but right now it has to be that Chorus Experiment. Do they have an attacker, though? Do they have a Cram themselves?
So there is a Nest Ball in hand, so maybe, I mean, I think if you're Jesse, at this point, it's too risky to sort of play the Nest Ball, grab a second Comfey, even if you want to use it. You're kind of looking for a lot of basic Pokemon here regardless, so just playing the Chorus before you Nest Ball gives you more outs to draw into Pokemon, and that is going to be the choice. 5 cards here.
A couple of energies and a Chorus for next turn.
Chorus definitely seems like a good grab, especially with one already in the Lost Zone. The question is, what cards can you afford to keep? I think there's also, I actually don't think there's an Energy Recycler there. No, a couple of Psychic Energy. This is where it comes down to making sure you save the right cards. You don't know in the moment how the game is going to play out, but you've got to do your best to sort of predict how things are going to play out between both players. Choose the right cards to put you in an advantageous situation as this game comes out.
I like keeping the loss of vacuum there. Jesse probably in the mindset of, you know what, I have to go aggressive this next turn. I have to use the Lost Mine coming up, and to be able to do that, maybe Lost Vacuuming the Forest Sealstone will definitely help out. Let's see here again. Right now, 5 cards in the Lost Zone. They should be able to have an attack here. Gonna use the go ahead and use the Lost Vacuum right here, right now. Why not? 7 cards now in the Lost Zone.
And that opens up Mirage Gate, if that is a potential. Does have the Escape Rope. Ooh. So this is a choice. Oh, this is so tough here for Andrew. What do you bring up? If you bring the Manaphy up, Greninja's an option, but you don't want to bring Comfey up because you've got nothing going on in your hand. It has to be the Comfey. Understands this is the only way he can keep pace. Giving the Manaphy up opens up too many options next turn for Radiant Greninja. And just after what looked like to be a solid turn for Andrew, he's got some climbing to do to stay in this. Yes, he's ahead on prizes. Yes, he has the guaranteed knockout, but this Pokegear pretty much has to hit Chorus for him to keep pace in terms of the Lost Zone numbers.
Exactly. Very important Pokegear hero.
And finds
right
it. And he doesn't even, he says,
we don't
listen,
have to see anything.
I don't need to see all 7. I'm grabbing Chorus 100%. I'll save us both the time.
All right, all right. So we do have the Chorus Experiment here. We should bring him up to 7 cards on the Lost Zone. Again, no Comfeys in play. I'm curious, again, this is going to be a very important Chorus indeed. He has to be able to keep up the pressure. Again, right now he has an attack, but he has to think of the future here. Clara's great for next turn. That can get you back your Cramorants.
So this is pretty good. I think it's just debating how much do I value Clara over having Psychic Energy. Now, of course, having Psychic Energy means that you have a card to concealed cards away. It means you have a pivot. This card acts as a lot, and when you Lost Zone it, it means you can never recover it, unlike having a discard pile off of something like concealed cards, or like I said, manually retreating it. But of course, Clara later on as well, bringing Manaphy back, bringing Sableye back. Both these cards are important. And I think Andrew making the right decision here, getting rid of the Psychic Energy, understands if my Manaphy gets targeted, I've got to play Clara to bring that back. If I want more Sableye down the line, I've got to play Clara to bring that back. This card seems too valuable to throw away.
Exactly. We can't conceal cards right now anyway, since we don't have our Radiant Greninja.
There's a Nest Ball in hand, so I think that's the choice. But I think also not having any pivots mean that it probably is just going to be, I mean, unless I think differently. I mean, you have Nest Ball, you have the ability to search out this Pokemon. I feel like it always has to be Radiant Greninja. Maybe not.
Potentially. He does still have energy in hand to be able to use concealed cards, and I have to say, I just love how both these players have been utilizing their own stadium, but denying their opponent the same use.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with Comfey, you're expecting this Cramorant to get knocked out back, so by making sure the Comfey's here, it means that if Escape Rope, but at the same time, if your opponent plays Escape Rope, if you have Greninja on your bench, you can also just promote the Greninja.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, you don't like to have damage on it later. It lets Lost Mine be an easier option, but at that point, at least you're not losing another Pokemon that you're going to want to have in play. eventually your opponent's going to start lost mining you. And if you do not have an ability to either lost mine them back, and you're forced to just try and Cramorant 6 prizes, you're not going to win that trade back and forth. Even if you started even if you started to initiate the trade, it's not going to work out the way you want it to.
Exactly. Looks like Andrew saw your exact line of play. I think Greninja has to be the grab here. Yeah, you mentioned it right. It is escape rope proof. It nets you value right now, right? You get to use concealed cards right now. You could potentially draw into the config you wanted anyway, but we'll have to see. Again, concealed card discarding 1 energy, drawing 2.
Does find escape rope. It's not a terrible card. Does have the energy to concealed cards away next turn. It still has a lot of these pivoting cards. And there we go. Spit innocently. Andrew, take another prize card. It is that beach court, so we'll have at least 1 more pivoting option. Action is back on to Jesse. Does he have a way to respond? Does have Colress's experiment all ready to start the handoff? That's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you want to see. 5 cards. Are there any ways to get these attacker established? Greninja not doing anything because Manaphy's in play. Attacking with Dragonite into a 1-prize Pokemon and damaging your board. Remember, Dragon Gale does do 20 damage to each of your benched Pokemon as well. Not what you want to see. In this situation here, if you don't have access to Cramorant, if you can't get Sableye, what attacker do you even use in this position?
I'm trying to see here. Do we not have access to Sableye? I think I do. I see it in. I think I do see it in the hand.
Is there a Psychic Energy though? I think there's
we have a Mirage Gate.
Okay,
we also drew into 1.
Is there a Nest Ball and is there a way to pivot? I see the Sableye. I think it's possible because of course you can utilize Mirage Gate to retreat, right? So that still exists, but is there a way to do it a little bit more efficiently without burning as many resources?
Exactly. I definitely don't want to attack with a Dragonite here. Again, putting 20 damage across the board just seems really bad in this matchup. Unfortunately, Manaphy doesn't protect you from your own attack.
Yeah, does not do that. It's only your opponent's bench Pokemon with that water availability, with that way availability. So we'll see exactly what happens. Did grab Raikou off of that Hisuian Heavy Ball.
A little bit better.
If flower selecting, this does find Sky Steel Stone. That can easily be pitched away. The V-Star power has already been used. I'll be interested to see what resources Jesse has available and can utilize to try and Sableye this turn. However, Sableye is pretty much just doing 10 more damage than how Cramorant would play this out, so it kind of becomes a little bit of a weird situation. But as long as both players' counts are right, as long as our count is right, and it looks like it is right, because Sableye is getting benched and energy is getting attached to it.
Yeah, not too bad there. I think you definitely still go after the Cramorant here, just because it is the only thing exerting pressure. As tempting as it is to just take out that Manaphy and potentially use the Moonlight Shuriken, I think you do knock out the Cramorant here, right?
It's an interesting situation because for your opponent to keep pace, by knocking Manaphy out potentially and putting damage on something like Radiant Greninja, you maybe predict that if your opponent wants to continue pace and eventually stay in this matchup, they've got to put Comfey down. And if they put Comfey down, they're just threatening essentially 2 prizes up if you don't play Clara. And also burning Clara early onto Manaphy really doesn't feel great because if you're playing Clara, you're not playing Colress, and you know your opponent right now doesn't have enough cards to get there in the lost zone. But it seems like this is just a strategy. Put 10 damage to the Manaphy, knock out this Cramorant, and say, hey, you haven't played Colress so far. I don't think you're going to have Colress in order to be able to take this game. I'm just going to pretty much play the Sableye as if it were a Cramorant, put 10 extra damage on the board, and play from there.
All right, and right here, I believe Andrew still has a pretty clear way in attacking, right? We do know they have Clara in hand. They could potentially get back a couple of Cramorants. Looks like they're going for the Mirage Gate, though.
So this is interesting. This can grab 2 energy out of the deck.
Potentially just to retreat?
Maybe. I think it's good to just have it on later as well. Of course, Manaphy is in play, so will not be able to damage the bench at all with this Moonlight Shuriken. Can still take the knockout of the active, so that is a potential option.
Yes.
We usually don't see Moonlight Shuriken be used just to take 1 prize, but it is pretty much doing the same thing as Cramorant, and it's putting less Pokemon into play. What this also means is Andrew can thin his deck first, playing Mirage Gate, then utilize concealed cards and not draw into potentially these water energy.
I use Mirage Gate. I don't know if you.
But yeah, again, it is an attacker here. That it's pretty much guaranteed here that Andrew takes a knockout potentially. Again, he does have Clara. He draws into a Comfey here.
So Comfey's there, does have Escape Rope and Beach Court, so can at least get a flower selecting off. The risk, however, with this, of course, is that if your opponent does play something like Hawlucha, now, of course, these players don't know that they're playing the same 60 cards to each other, but if your opponent is playing something like Hawlucha, benching the Comfey can be risky because, of course, you can put 10 damage on the Manaphy, 10 damage on this Comfey, and then utilize Sableye, knock both of these Pokemon out.
Exactly. Let's see here. Again, they does decide to bench the Comfey. I'm wondering if you actually go for the Escape Rope, if you're really trying to dig this turn.
Well, the problem with Escape Rope, too, is by playing Escape Rope, your opponent can send up something like Dragonite or Radiant Greninja into the active, and now Moonlight Shuriken is not nearly getting the same value as it would be to at least be taking a prize. But it actually seems like we're just going to see the Clara get played. This will bring back both Psychic Energy, the Cramorant, and the Comfey. This Cramorant gets benched, so this might signal the Greninja potentially retreating into this Cramorant. I feel like the amount of resources you have to discard just to hit 110 into the active, 90 into the active, same thing. Sableye still getting knocked out.
But you know
just
what?
doesn't feel worth it.
But you know what? You got to do what you got to do. You right now, you're ahead of the prizes. You have momentum right now. You have to keep attacking. And if it means you have to overextend a little bit, you have to do it. Again, it doesn't take too much to knock stuff out in the Lost Box match anyway. But again, still something you wouldn't want to do for sure.
Yeah, this is really interesting too. I do want to note out that the Dragonite V is on the bench. It is a card that has just kind of been sitting here the entire game. It can't be removed. It is essentially a free 2 prize cards if Andrew ever finds Mirage Gate plus a Boss's Orders, can utilize his own Dragonite, take a knockout. But Andrew's just going to spit innocently again. 3rd spit of the game, going to 3 prize cards. And we're kind of in a spit war right now between both these players. Who will come out on top?
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head here. Getting that Dragonite V in play right now is absolutely huge. And we know for a fact, again, Lost Box doesn't have means of hand disruption. So whatever they need, whatever you think your opponent needs at this point, you just have to assume they have it, right?
Another tough flower selecting here. Colress's Experiment and Mirage Gate. I've already got rid of a single Colress, which means I think that actually is the last Colress's Experiment in the entire deck. 2 have been played so far. Do you really value, I mean, in this situation, do you value Mirage Gate as a card that's worth more in this situation than Colress? I feel like
this is
maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I feel like Colress just is more important at making sure you just have those last resources you need in your deck.
That's one of the flower selectings at that point. You just have to think to yourself, okay, I'm going to lose this Colress. That means I'm going to have to start working with just my hand and a couple of top decks, right? So that's one of the times you just have to start thinking 3 turns ahead at that point. And maybe Mirage Gate is part of the piece that means that Jesse is thinking that, you know, this is a piece I need to win the game. And yeah, I can't afford to lose it.
Now, this game will be over in a max of 4 turns as long as both players continue to take knockouts. But the issue really here is, how much do you think Colress is going to get played? If there's still 2 Clara available and that's your supporter of choice, then yeah, maybe it makes sense to just put the Colress Experiment away, keep the Mirage Gate. You now have that burst potential with not just Radiant Greninja, but also with access to Dragonite. And with Cram in the active and Cram back, Jesse actually is deciding to go in with this Cramorant instead of spreading damage with Sableye, not taking the opportunity to knock Manaphy out, and instead just going after this Cramorant.
I think that was a turn you needed to attack with the Sableye. It's just knock out the Manaphy, put damage on the Comfey potentially. I think that was the turn there.
Yeah, I mean, your opponent just burned Clara. So at most, they've got one way to recover their Manaphy. If you want to try to win this game with some sort of Radiant Greninja play to give yourself that prize advantage, maybe you got to consider if it was worth going after Manaphy.
Exactly. You have to start pulling tricks out of your bag, right? Right now, you're technically losing the prize rate. If I'm just trading knockouts here, trading blows, cram for cram, I'm going to lose this game.
This is something to be seen here. Besides the Colress played on turn 1, Andrew has not found any way to find any of the other 3 Colress. None are prized. They're all just kind of sitting here. It does have access to another flower selectings. We are going to see the escape rope get played. Comfey coming into the active spot. Here we go. Flower selecting number 2. Are we going to see another flower selecting not find Colress, or is Colress finally going to come out to play? It is a Sky Seal Stone, but valuing the switch card to have that healing potential means Andrew will not be using a V-Star power this game.
Exactly. I don't think he necessarily needs one. I mean, does he still have any Vs in the deck, right? Drapion.
No, he doesn't, but I understand the switch card more. It's just more so for the fact that Andrew can Sableye this turn now, push the aggression even further, utilize flower selecting. Sure, this doesn't find exactly what you're looking for, but found an escape rope here can now save this switch card to heal damage off later. Let's actually talk about that for a second. How does switch card come into a factor in this matchup where usually it's just being used to pivot your basic Pokemon?
Again, with the lack of something like Scoop Up Net's Zigzagoon, for example, you're really depending on some damage that you're leaving in play, right? Just like we see right now, the Manaphy has 1 damage counter on it. When you're using your Sableye, you want to spread damage, maybe take a key knockout and put 2-3 damage in a Comfey, set up a 2-prize turn. But with the with the switch card, you can essentially negate that small damage, which again goes a long way.
So I'll be interested to see what Andrew targets down. I think it's always the Manaphy and 5 on the Comfey here, and I think that's exactly what Andrew's going to go for. Understands my opponent has done one Clara. He's saying, hey, you should have done this last turn. If you're not going to do it, hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this exact play. And now Jesse is pretty much locked into playing Clara this turn. If that doesn't come down, this Radiant Greninja doesn't even need a Mirage Gate to get powered up. A single energy attachment will do, and easy knockouts can go onto 2 of these Pokemon.
But again, catch-22, you need that Manaphy or else you're going to get hit by Radiant Greninja. But you drop the Manaphy, that's 70 HP. There's 5 damage counters on the Comfey.
And Andrew's at just 2 prize cards here, so it seems like a lose-lose situation unless Jesse can find a way to heal this damage off with something like Switch Cart, which we talked about. There's already 1 in the hand. I think that's going to be maybe what this comes down to. Can Jesse find a way to heal this off? Can he find a way? Oh, that does not go to the discard pile. Let's. That is in the Lost Zone instead. So let's make sure that Battle Pass goes into the Lost Zone. Saw they hit the discard pile.
At this point, you know, when you have 12, you have infinity. infinite Lost Zone at this point. I stopped keeping track after 10.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get that figured out. That Battle Pass should not be in the discard pile. That should be in the Lost Zone.
Yep.
And once that gets figured out, hopefully someone can. Our players seem to be a little bit confused here. But it's not really relevant, right? It doesn't really come into factor. Both players are already at 10 cards, and it looks like we finally figured it out. So
there we go.
But again, it's finding the Clara. So there's a Switch card, though. That can heal his Comfey down. But the problem is, even if it has 2 damage counters on it, the math is still there.
Yeah.
5 and 7 off of 2 Pokemon.
You're going to need another escape rope, another Switch card.
Like, what do you do here? Do you just hope your opponent doesn't have the energy card in their hand?
They have the energy in play.
I mean, they need 1 more for Greninja, right? So the problem is, right? Oh, I mean, this works. No, this doesn't work too, because you can't Lost Mine and knock the Sableye and the Comfey out.
Yeah. Because they didn't bring out the Manaphy.
You're 10 damage short that way. But again, if you don't bring Manaphy back, Radiant Greninja can just take the knockout and take those last 2 prize cards. And I think with Jesse bringing up the Sableye and showing there's nothing else, maybe it's just but Boss's Orders doesn't do anything either because Beach Court's in play too.
Again, this is just the power of going second. Going second and being able to keep momentum, right? Andrew, despite not having the best of hands, what he ensured was he had a knockout this turn and possibly the next turn. And we're going to see here a Pokegear. Again, I'm not quite sure what supporter we can find that helps out. We have access to
Clara would definitely be what you're looking for.
Yeah. There it is. I thought he had one already in his hand.
so with this play here, I mean, Clara can bring back the Manaphy, but Sableye can't target the opposing Manaphy. Jesse's got to pretty much target down the opposing Sableye. Say,
that's true.
Hey, I've got to hope you don't have it, but if the Sableye's there, again, exactly 120 damage, 5 on the Comfey to knock it out, 7 on the Manaphy to knock it out, and that will be game over. And I think I saw Clara in hand there for Andrew, so see if either player has what they need. Just sort of playing these cards out, playing Hisuian Ball, looking through the deck, finding pieces.
I mean, Clara's the only piece you need. I believe the Beach Court is in play.
Yeah, Beach Court's in play. The Sableye's already in the active, so all you need is Clara. You've got the Radiant Greninja to retreat as well if you want. So I think that might also be the play here for Jesse. Jesse does have the Lost Vacuum, so you can play the Lost Vacuum to just take that piece out of the deck. Just sort of playing Nest Ball, look through, but I mean, sort of as you said here, like all that really matters. Oh, actually, not going to decide to actually bench the Sableye, which so now means a single energy here will just allow Andrew to win the game here with Radiant Greninja.
Definitely looking good for Andrew here. So it looks like we're going to go into a game 3 here for the Lost Box, exact Lost Box mirror. And yeah, we're going to see Lost Vacuum there. Just trying to get rid of the stage. There's so many cards in the Lost Zone, it's spilling over to the field at this point.
Yeah, let's make sure we keep everything organized in play. It's getting too powerful. It's expanding too much. The Lost Zone is coming to our dimension now. But Sableye lost mine. Is able to take the knockout onto Manaphy. Actually not taking the knockout, just putting 5 damage counters, taking a knockout onto the Comfey. And we know Andrew Hedrick has the energy card in his hand. Switch card can pivot in. And there it is. Water Energy, Moonlight Shuriken. 2 prize cards can be taken on both Sableye. And we're going to game number 3 here in round 9.
Andrew Hedrick tying it up here. Both these players now 1 match away from day 2.
I think Jesse didn't quite understand there were 2 prize cards left. See the little shock there when Andrew just said, what are you doing? I'm taking all my prize cards here. I win the Pokemon TCG. But nevertheless here, we're going to game 3. But interesting to note, we've only got 18 minutes on the time, now 15 minutes. So once we shuffle up and draw,
they're going to have to start playing fast.
A little over 10 minutes. And this is a win-win situation. If you tie, you're not making day 2.
yeah, a draw here is as good as losing a game. So both these players definitely want to be selecting fast. They're going to have to play as fast as possible, that's for sure. And again, Jesse should be able to decide who gets to go first. Maybe he learned a trick or two from Andrew. Maybe decides to go second here. We'll have to see.
Take a look. Oh, Jesse deciding to go second, so it seems like going second is the way to go, except for, of course, game one, where nothing went in the way of Andrew, so who knows? I mean, as we've said, not a lot of time on the clock. That last game was a long one. That was a 25-minute game that took between both of those players. However, we've seen these Lost Box decks do things that Lost Box decks do. You draw into a bunch of Energy Recycler and Mirage Gate, and you've got nothing going on, and you kind of just sit there and you say, well, the most important match of the day, when I need your deck to work most.
Are you trying to tell me that there's a potential?
Listen, I'm saying I want to see a player win on stream and advance into day 2. If the universe takes its course, if somebody has to, you know, bite the dust a little bit here, and that's kind of how the game works. Listen, the cards don't lie. The cards are real.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I'm hoping to get one more full game of Lost Box in the 15 minutes. Just the fastest Lost Box game ever. Not ever, but a very fast one for sure. As we do see Jesse here. It looks like they do have an active.
And Andrew's got a great hand here. Battle VIP Pass and Greninja. Exactly what he wants to see in the first turn. Now let's look at the prizes, see if there's anything too important in there. Both copies of Energy Recycler there for Andrew, and a single copy of Colress's Experiment. Not great, especially both recyclers if you're digging through your deck with concealed cards. As Andrew's kicking action off, great top deck there in Colress. Can't play it this turn, but you've got Battle VIP Pass to get some Cone Phase to play.
Definitely. Again, the Energy Recyclers, yes, they're in the prize, but again, one of them is in the lower end of the prize. That means you should be able to draw into it. In fact, I'd like to argue to say it's safer there in the prize cards than potentially getting flower selected.
It's not going to get lost zoned away. The prize cards is the one area of this deck that's safe from getting things lost zone, unless you've got the Barbarical that exists that puts any prize cards you take into the lost zone, but players haven't discovered that technology yet.
The new Lost Box tech. All right,
I'd love to see that. That would be so great in a deck. Anyways, let's keep back to the match here. Great card to start off. How much more can we praise Battle VIP Pass? It is the strongest search card that we've ever seen in the format on turn 1. 2 basic Pokemon into play on your bench. You can only play it on turn 1, but this is the turn you want to see it. Get these Cone Phase into play. Escape Rope is there. The flower selecting train can start. This is what you want to do if you're Andrew. Start getting those cards in, start getting ready to attack, and hope your opponent can't get that turn 1 Cramorant to keep pace with you.
Exactly. I think this is Andrew's first time in this set to actually open up the Battle VIP Pass. I'm sure they're feeling good about that. But again, I think what the bigger matter here is, again, Jesse's hand. Like, does he have the potential to get that turn 1 Cramorant? And if he does, it has to be up on a knockout that matters. Again, right now we have the Radiant Greninja in the active, which means a Cram hit will bring it down to 20 HP potential. There's potential there for Sableye down the line, but again, that's down the line.
So flower selecting can be utilized because of this Escape Rope. See these 2 cards. Already great things to work with next turn in that Mirage Gate. And of course that, and wow, look at that. Finds Battle VIP Pass.
Probably
that's able to just
easy choice there.
Yeah, very easy choice. Hey, listen, last time I checked, 2 is better than 1.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Ethan.
I'm glad to get the validation from you. All right, 2 cards here. Before he grabs them, what is he getting off this Battle VIP Pass? What does he want to add onto this already great turn 1?
I think we just grabbed the Mana Fee early on here. I mean, we're out a Nest Ball. We have the Battle VIP Pass at this point, and there's no real threat besides potentially spit instantly into Boss's orders, but that's a long shot for sure. Again, Andrew's board looking pretty good. This is a typical Lost Box board I'm used to seeing. You know, Radiant Greninja, 2 Comp Phase, a Mana Fee, and a potential attacker as we pass over to Jesse.
So Jesse's got a lot to ask for here.
That's 1 Battle VIP Pass. Right
Listen,
there.
You can. He's got the makeshift Battle VIP Pass. He's got the Sun and Moon Battle VIP Pass coming out here. He's got double Nest Ball and grab 2 Pokemon out of the deck. Have to imagine Radiant Greninja is definitely what you want to see, especially with how crucial it was early on. Didn't find it out of the deck and then decided to use flower selecting, and whether by choice or not, was sort of immediately punished with a tough decision when you always want that card in play.
Exactly. It looks like it's going to be 2 Comp Phase instead, though. Let's see if Jesse has the switch capabilities to really make use of these Comp Phase. Again, he wants to get to 4 cards in the Lost Zone right now. You want You want to be the first one to take the hit. You want to be the one who's dictating momentum in this last round, especially if this last round determines if you make it to the day 2 of the Hartford Regional Championship. Escape rope being played now. Again, Greninja seems like a good choice here. 110 damage potentially.
It's weird. I think having the Greninja take damage is not necessarily like what you want, because later on it allows Sableye to take some weird prize cards. But maybe Andrew has a feeling at this point that the game is pretty much being played between 2 of the same decks so far. I mean, both players have plenty of information. Regardless, whatever gets sent up is going to matter only if your opponent has a way to get Colress up and ready. Looks like Sableye and one other card. I think it was another Comfey found there off the flower selecting. Choosing to Sableye, retreating this Comfey.
Very important flower selecting here.
Flower selecting. It's Radiant Greninja and Battle Pass.
Well,
I mean, you've got to keep the Radiant Greninja.
Yeah.
Is there an energy card in hand, though? There is a water energy, so it's one last chance here. Can Jesse find a Colress's Experiment off these 2 cards? No, he cannot.
Doesn't. Huge miss here on Jesse's side of the field. Again, you want to be the one who dictates momentum of the game, and that's why we chose to go second. We purposely decided to go second here to be able to be the first one to use a supporter, to be able to be the first one to get an attack off, and unfortunately, we did neither.
And this escape rope for me is kind of confusing because, yeah, I get you want to protect your Comfey. You lost zone 1, but now you just gave your opponent a free pivot back into Comfey for this turn. So we'll see exactly how this works out. Colress's Experiment already in hand, has access to put more cards in the Lost Zone, draw through more cards, see more of the deck. A very easy choice here in Battle VIP Pass, and as long as Andrew has had an opportunity to look through his deck, understands there's no Pokemon on the prize card, so Hisuian Heavy Ball goes through, and now there are so many pivoting cards. There's Pokegear to find Colress. Next turn, things are going perfectly, but Andrew's got to play through this game fast if he wants to try to take all 6 prize cards quickly, because things get grindy towards the end of this game.
Exactly, 9 minutes left in the round. Andrew's worst opponent, worst fear right now is that timer. We're playing.
Okay. So I think Andrew forgot to, or did Andrew flower selecting first? I think he did flower selecting. There's just no marker on the thing. So I think he flower selecting, utilized it, and that's it. So 4 cards down the Lost Zone, 1 this turn, and then Colress, and then a flower selecting here. And Andrew understands, I'm not going to take any more time than necessary. Taking a knockout with spin instantly. But look at that. Big top deck does find Colress's Experiment off the top.
All right, with the Colress Experiment, things are now activated. There should be, I believe there should be at least 4 cards in the Lost Zone at this point.
There should be 4 now, yeah. 2 off the first turn, so this is, I think, one of the decisions now. If Jesse had looked through the deck, would understand there's no Pokemon worth grabbing here with the Hisuian Heavy Ball. Just the Drapion V and the prizes, and I think the correct choice there, of course, getting rid of that Hisuian Heavy Ball. Keep your other resources in peace. Concealed cards still got to find a lot. Still need to get Cramorant down. Still need to find a way to get out of this.
I don't think they have an attacker.
No, it's going to be this flower selecting to try and find a Cramorant. A way to attack this turn. Finds Raikou, but there's not enough cards to power it up. Is Jesse going to miss an attack this turn?
That would be absolutely debilitating here. Again, you already missed your turn 1 attack, which is very unlikely in Lost Zone. But missing a turn 2 attack? Almost unheard of.
And has to keep the Clara. And now the choice at this point is, what do you bring up into the active spot? If your opponent has another escape rope that can bring up either of these Pokemon, do you want to commit your resources? I mean, we could see Sableye scratch, I guess, and put 20 damage on the board. That's definitely one of the attacks that exists in this deck. I don't think I've seen players use that a lot. And just going to be a switch card and a pass over. And Andrew is in an excellent position, has 2 Colress in hand, has Boss's Orders as well, doesn't even need to play the Colress, even has something like the escape rope potentially. I think this is just the choice for Andrew. Does he want to play Boss, target this Manaphy down, or does he want to go after Colress?
You could target down the Comfey. Right now,
you could go either. I feel like, I think Colress here is smart as long as he can find the escape rope. Doesn't find it, but does have access to Mirage Gates for the following turn. Can put pressure on this active. Again, the damage is still going to stay there. Could get switch carded off a little bit, but you know your opponent has already burned a lot of those resources. So you're now at 6 cards in the Lost Zone. It means a Colress and 2 flower selectings gets you there. You still have the access to dig with concealed cards. Finds 3 Colress now, so the rest of the Colress are either in the hand. And Andrew's just playing fast. Spit innocently, 110. Go ahead. I'm trying to put on as much pressure as possible, as quickly as possible.
Exactly. Here we go back to Jesse's side of the field. I don't think they have any. Oh, they can use it right now. Concealed cards. It has to draw into Colress here.
Yeah, so concealed cards can be used. Does find another Clara and a switch card, so there's now 2 switch card in hand. So
Oh, they have
this.
access to Pokegear.
Does have Pokegear, but deciding to play the Pokegear before utilizing Flower Selecting to put this into the hand. Is there a Colress?
Okay.
Still gets rewarded and finds Colress. A big hit there off that Pokegear.
Again, Jesse just has to get an attack here, and even if he does, he did miss a couple of beats. So I'm still a little suspect if Jesse can close this one out for sure. Again, 110 damage on that Greninja definitely sets a lot of things up. It's a lot of potential for sure.
So with Switch Cart, that Greninja goes down to 80 HP or 80 damage, which means it has 50 HP left, which still means that I've lost mine, 50 damage on the Greninja and 70 on either the Manaphy or the Comfey would knock it out. So it is some interesting math to note down the line. That damage can be relevant for sure. As we finally will see the Colress's Experiment get played. Looking still for something like the Cramorant. You've got easy choices off the Battle VIP passing the Sky Seal Stone, but there's nothing else going on. I think just going to be forced to. I mean, you don't have enough cards for Lost. You don't have enough cards for Lost Mine yet. You can go to 8 here in the Lost Zone with Flower Selecting. So if you can maybe find a Lost Vacuum, but no. I don't know. This might just be another turn here of Jesse being unable to deal any damage or reasonably deal damage. I guess you can Moonlight Shuriken this active, but that doesn't feel like a great play.
90 damage is something. You're setting something up, but yeah, I don't think that's a great play indeed. But what can you do here? You have to do something, right?
You've got to do something, especially when your opponent has damage on the board. They're ahead on prize cards. They're very reasonably threatening Lost Mine the following turn.
At this point, I would even, if I had the opportunity to, I'd even use a Pokemon V at this point just to take a knockout.
Yeah, that Raikou got lost zone earlier on. We finally will see the Sableye drop. Both of them going down onto the board. But what is the follow-up at this point? Are we going to see the Fabled Scratch? Is it coming out?
I think you might just Moonlight Shuriken here. 90 damage, that's something. He sets up a potential Sableye play later down the line at least. Not sure.
Nothing has retreated yet. Still has access to.
Does he have? Has he used a Lost Vacuum? Does he have a Lost Vacuum in hand?
I don't think he does. No, I think it's. I think it might actually be passing into this Sableye. That's it. This is a bonus turn on a bonus turn for Andrew Hedrick. Has access to Colress, can get up to 8, make it very easy to Sableye. Will go on a 2-prize lead with damage on this bench Radiant Greninja. And things are looking very, very, very good for Andrew, taking prizes left. There's only 3.5 minutes left in this round, so Andrew's got to play quickly. What comes into the active spot here if you're Jesse?
At this point, it doesn't really matter. I would put up the Radiant Greninja, hoping that they just knock it out with something like the Cramorant, but I have the strangest feeling that a Lost Mine is in my future.
Flower Selecting there will push it up to 9 cards in the Lost Zone, so if there are 2 more pivoting cards and a Sableye and an Energy card, that will be there, as well as a Lost Vacuum. So let's see if he's got it there. I see the Beach Court in hand. I see the Mirage Gate as well. I think we're going to just see the Mirage Gate, grab some energy out of the deck, try and pivot this Pokemon. I mean, it's going to be exactly what we see here. I think Andrew's going to do the same thing he just did in game number 1 or game number 2. Use this Mirage Gate, prep the Greninja, pretty much say, hey, you're forced to play Clara the next 2 turns if you don't want to face down a Moonlight Shuriken. If not, I'm just putting on a lot of pressure.
Exactly, and we see here Flower Selecting being played. A little bit of a tough choice, but it looks like they're going to grab the Clara there. They're thinking about it.
Yeah, it does still have Sableye and Psychic Energy in the hand. Does also have access to Escape Rope or the Switch Cart.
And there it is.
Playing the Switch Cart, bringing the Sableye into the active, and the math is perfect here. Can take a knockout onto this Radiant Greninja and the Manaphy. Andrew going down to 3 prize cards left. We're in the final 2 minutes here.
Yeah, Andrew definitely in a good position. I think if he just takes one more knockout, he should be able to close this one out, even if going into time. And even if we go into time right here, right now, I wouldn't put it past Andrew to take multiple prizes.
I think if Andrew can get one more turn in, it's pretty much locked. Andrew's at minimum got 2 turns to work with here. Trying to think of if it's possible now. If switch carts exist, I'm not quite sure if it can be done is sort of the issue. Can still bench both of these Pokemon. Does have access now to concealed cards, to discard some resources, Flower Selectings as well. Drawing through the deck, seeing what pieces exist, what cards are there. But I have to imagine here, Jesse has lost the position to win this game.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to, at this point, can Andrew find a way to take 3 prize cards in 2 turns with this deck?
I mean, if there's a deck that can do it, it's definitely Lost Box. And you know, Andrew, great Lost Box player. I want to see how he sets this one up. And again, I have a feeling it involves a bunch of lost mining. Looks like it might just...
Retreating into the Cramorant. Spit innocently, can take the knockout, but at this point, what are you really preparing for? What are you doing to sort of put in check your opponent's threats, what they have on the board? The biggest one for me is just Lost Mine into Greninja the following turn. This is what it might come down to. Here we go.
30 seconds left in the round.
So yeah, I don't think Andrew can finish this turn and also pass a turn over, but this legitimately might be up to Andrew. If Andrew can play this fast enough, finish this turn in 20 seconds, place the damage counters on top, do all this fast enough, and that's all he really needs to do. Can grab back energy cards, but concealed cards is just essentially wasted actions at this point. Let's see if he figures this out. Retreating into the Sableye, Lost Mine. This is going to be such an important 10 seconds here. You'll have to see if this person draws a card to start the turn off. There's 5 here. Do we see the card drawn? 4, 3, taking the prize cards. 2. He drew the card. That's so big. That means Andrew gets an extra turn to play this game out, and that could be the make or break difference here.
Absolutely huge. Sorry, I was speechless there. I was like waiting. It's 1 second left. Does he draw? I believe he drew it at exactly 1 second here. So Andrew should have 2 more turns.
Hopefully, we'll get confirmation from the judges who is what turn in time. It is very, very important. This makes it from a possible winning situation from Andrew to a very, very possible, very favored situation, depending on who is turn 0. Jesse has got to find a way to try and stop these threats. There's no way you win this prize race against Andrew with how many resources he still has. Let's see how this game is going to unfold. Game 3. Oh boy, the stakes are high.
I believe right now you're just playing and not to lose. You want to use those switch cards to be able to heal your Pokemon if you can. In fact, what I would do here, retreat that Sableye. If I had one more switch card, heal once again. Looks like Jesse did forget to heal off the Comfey there.
So and again, Jesse is turn 0. And I think it's just going to be a Lost Mine. And there it is. There's the Kern. Andrew has the cards here. Lost Mine. There's no Manaphy down in play. Andrew being turn 1 has the water energy. Moonlight Shuriken can knock out both of these Sableye.